We heard from you, our loyal fans, and you said, speed up this podcast. So we did. Welcome to a new, improved, faster, more concise sports and other stuff. The next episode, here it is. Stand by right now.
T-Dog, J-Boy, and me, I'm Lugs. Our pride and joy is pumping our mugs. Be careful, kids, it could get rough. We're flipping our lids on sports and other stuff.
Welcome to Sport Weasel Central. I'm Lugs.
I'm J-Boy.
And I'm T-Dog.
Yes, sir. Wow, fellas, with numbers showing about 120 million watched it, Super Bowl 58 was one for the books, overtime thriller, further immortalizing "You go, dog," Patrick Mahomes. So let's get your first big take on the game. Lugs, T-Dog, good to see you boys. I'm still cleaning some guacamole off my couch, but let's hear what you thought about it. Just your first take. Lugs, what'd you think of the game, man?
Mahomes did what Mahomes does. I guess my favorite was Kelsey trying to put a wrestling move on Andy Reid, but that's a whole other side story. But it was a very entertaining game. I thought Purdy acquitted himself well. It began with a bunch of fumbles, and it was just sort of strange. You could tell those guys were tight. But all in all, a good game. I was pulling for the 49ers just because, but a good game. What do you think, dog?
Yeah, I think, I think it's the second straight game where the Chiefs, I think on paper, I think the 49ers had a better overall roster. And I think Purdy, for the most part, played well, but just I think some of us called it just Patrick Mahomes is playing at just a different level these last few years, whether people want to say it or not. And that's pretty much the big difference. 49ers, I got to give props to their defense. Their defensive line really stepped up. Some of their big acquisitions this year, Hargrave had a sack. Chase Young, during the season, they traded for him. He had a sack. Armstead, a long-term player, he had a sack. And even though Bosa did have a sack, he had a lot of hits and tackles for losses. So he was very much a part of the game plan. And the reason why the Chiefs and Mahomes struggled so much in the first half. But, and again, he has a very odd running motion, but one of the big differences is Patrick Mahomes, he let his wheels go, and he had 9 carries for 66 yards. He's definitely one of the oddly elusive guys, just because, again, his stride is so weird. But he, when he needs to, he can run the ball. And again, it was a team effort where they're calling called all year. They showed up. Their defense was ferocious to hold this 49ers offense to 19 points. Again, it just goes to show you how many good young players the front office, Brad Veach, hit on, like Karlaftis, who recovered the fumble, and Leo Chanel, who their linebacker who was a rookie last year. He forced the fumble, and just at the very end of the game, their main guy. Their second best player after Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, it was his pass rush that made Purdy throw the ball out of bounds and kick a field goal to, just go up 22-19 in overtime. He's the guy who got quick pressure on Purdy to not allow them to score a touchdown in overtime. So, like I said, really entertaining game. And I know a lot of people are bummed out because people don't like dynasties, which I can understand. No one likes the dynasty unless it's their team. But, we're in the midst of Patrick Mahomes, who probably hasn't even hit his prime yet. And, it's going to be scary in the next few years.
Absolutely. 6 years into the league at age 28. Without question, if he stopped today, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Number 2, Andy Reid picked up Super Bowl number 3. That puts him in the upper echelon now. I think with Bill Walsh and who else? Somebody else has 3.
Belichick has more than.
Belichick,
sure.
Chuck Noll.
Yep. So I mean, that's some high marks
Joe
right
Gibbs.
there. Joe Gibbs, that's serious stuff. So I mean, we are in the middle of a dynasty. It's crazy. Patrick Mahomes just does, like you said, guys, what he does. Whenever.
Yeah. But I got to say, they should have given the MVP to Chris Jones. 3 times there was a touchdown to be had, and he came through and forced Purdy to go early. If Purdy had had a half second on any of those throws, we wouldn't be talking about Kansas City in a dynasty. So Chris Jones, I don't know if he'll come back. Who knows? But he saved the day for them pretty much the whole game. Yeah. Kansas City's defense won that game when it's all said and done.
Yeah, he was rushed a bunch of times. No question, got him on his off foot, and he overthrew or underthrew or had to rush the throw. You're right.
And also one of the secret MVPs, and it's been one of the, again, we mainly talk about offense and defense on this show. The calling card, one of the other calling cards all year for the Chiefs is their special teams. Butker has been consistent since he's got there, being one of the most consistent kickers. And Townsend, their punter, repeatedly always is able to change, field position with some booming 6-yard punts, and he usually still gets some hang time on it, so there's no returns. And Jay Boyle like this, big shout out back to that mid-2000s Bears. Their special teams coordinator is Dave Tobe, who one of his best players of all time, Devin Hester, just got elected in the Hall of Fame. So,
yep.
Again, we don't really talk about special teams a lot, but that was another critical factor because Ray McLeod had that fumble that allowed the Chiefs to get the lead right at the end of the third quarter, the Valdez-Scantling touchdown, and then the blocked kick
allowed the PAT.
It allowed them to kick a field goal instead of go for a touchdown to win it in regulation. So, and also I know he gets enough flowers, but even though he didn't score a touchdown, the other thing you got to love about Travis Kelce is both those touchdowns, if you go back and watch, because of how much of a threat he is, two defenders are locked on him on the Valdez-Scantling. 2 people get caught up in him, which leaves Valdez-Scantling wide open. And then the play that won it in overtime, which is named, you'll all love this, the play's named Tom and Jerry. And it's funny, going back to the Eagles Super Bowl last year, it's the same thing where they have a guy on the outside, run inside, and right as he runs inside, I believe it was Travarius Ward, his eyes switched to Kelce, and right when his eyes switched, that's when the ball is snapped, and it allows McCole Hardman to then go back outside, and he's wide open, no one on him. So Travis Kelce, even though he's 35, I know he's coming back, or he's going to be 35 next year, still demands attention, and because of that, it led to the 2 big touchdowns by KC.
And because of that, Taylor Swift was there, Okay, a couple of things. Breaking news today on Monday, published by ESPN.com, a story that said many 49ers players didn't know the new rules of overtime in the playoffs and how it worked. Meanwhile, the Chiefs players said they'd talked about it and knew about it way back in August before the season began. Do you guys buy that, or is it an excuse? I know they're different, but it was pretty well explained, I thought. What did you think, Lugs?
Yeah, I mean, it was fairly straightforward, the changes that they did. I just can't believe if you're a professional, you don't look at what the changes are. That's a coaching issue. I got to put that on Shanahan or whomever's job it is to keep up with the rules and keep the players aware. So, and speaking of Shanahan, he'll be back. He's 44. he's going to win some Super Bowls. And people that are blasting on him right now saying he can't win the big one, well, let's just go back 5 or 6 years. Andy Reid couldn't win the big one.
That's correct.
Then he got Pat Mahomes. You know, he got Travis Kelce. I got to give the front office for both of those teams, they hit on some picks. They really do. And picks that aren't obviously Purdy is your extreme example, but Mahomes wasn't that highly touted coming out of Mississippi State or Texas Tech, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, yeah, I got to give, credit to folks. And McCole Hartman, you got to say, the Jets just said, you go ahead and take him. He ain't worth nothing to us. And, and so you could tell.
Go ahead.
Andy Reid had been sitting on that play. And I got to say about the announcers, Romo talked over the entire end of that game. Nance had sense enough to keep his mouth shut. Somebody should have just clapped old Romo in the head and shut him up and let that play out. I mean, Tirico and Collinsworth, it would have sat there. Even Buck and Aikman, they wouldn't have talked over that. So that was just totally unprofessional as far as I'm concerned.
T-Dog, so you said that was the Tom and Jerry? Lugs, wouldn't we have called that the Moe and Curly, I think? Woo, 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 woo. But I thought CBS did a pretty good job, and they didn't bother me so much. But you maybe don't agree with that. I thought they did okay.
No, overall, I thought they did fine.
Yeah.
It's just let that moment play out.
I'm with Lugs. We've the one that really I can recall because of the magnitude of a team being undefeated. Joe Buck and Troy Aikman when the Giants took the lead late against the undefeated New England team. When they scored a touchdown, they just let the ambient sound of the arena take over for at least 3 seconds before Joe Buck interjects. It is like there's enough energy just based on the ambient sound that I agree with Lugs on that touchdown Tony Romo's so important to squeeze in how McCole Hartman was let go and then the Jets and then they traded the Jets late round picks and stuff and he came back and he won the title. It's all right, you can do that after you let the moment sink in. The Chiefs just won it. I mean, it's just hey, I again, I don't dislike Tony Romo, and I think I agree with you, Jay Boy. They did a good job overall. I like James Brown. I like some of their personalities on their pregame. I don't know how it's produced. Their personality gets zapped out. I don't think they're all like stale white bread like they all come across. I think it's in the process. I don't
steam cleaning or something.
I don't know. That's the thing is Phil Simms, Boomer Esiason, and Bill Cowher, all their contracts are up, and I'm sure one, if not two of them, probably are not back this year. And I just got to say, for those guys as a defense, they were not great on this pregame show. I really think it's however they construct that show. I don't think it's really on them. I think if they went to Fox, I think they show some more personality than what they are. I don't know what they're doing on CBS to strain out any color, but they, mission accomplished on that. And Jim, I'll just put it this way: Jim Nance is, even though he's maybe not my favorite, he's so accomplished. I do kind of agree with Lugs. He needs to sit down with Tony Romo and just be all right, you need to rein it in a little, buddy. Your energy's a little too much all over the place.
Well, to be honest, the two best parts of the day started at noon and 1 o'clock. At noon, The Road to the Super Bowl, which is always on Super Bowl Sunday by NFL Films. Phenomenal. They have the mic'd up segment, and there's a running back on the Ravens. Don't remember his name. He turns to the guy in the huddle and says, hey, guys, do you need a chapstick? I got one here. I get all just dried out up here, and I got to use chapstick. Then number two, there's a sequence where there's two big linemen on the sideline to go, damn, what are they doing to the uniforms? They are shrinking these up, man. The pants don't fit anymore. And then the 1 o'clock game. Did you see, 1 o'clock show? You Are Looking Live, a history of the NFL today. That program on CBS. If you didn't catch it, go watch it. It's phenomenal. Talk about Jimmy the Greek, Phyllis George, hosted by Brent Musburger, Irv Cross, Jane Kennedy. Some of the best TV I've seen in a long time about the history of the whole pregame show that they started back in about 1977, I think, or 76. So that was what was the best part of the day for me, actually. But the game and all that, that's fine. But let's look at that good old stuff, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I got to say, of the commercials,
Yes.
the Pluto TV one with the potatoes in the field. That was just strange. That one struck me. I don't know what Pluto TV is, but that was strange. And I do remember, obviously the Budweiser with the puppy leading the horses and all of that. And Beyonce's, they must have spent at least $500,000 to $1 million on that commercial for her. So I was impressed by the production. It's not going to make me, obviously, buy Beyonce's record, but I'm not the audience she's shooting for anyway.
How about you, D-Dog?
Those are like the highlights for me.
Commercial-wise.
I honestly, I didn't pay attention to them. I was able to watch the game later today because of my work schedule, so I didn't really get to watch a lot of commercials. I did enjoy Arnold, like a good neighbor.
That was good. Neighbor.
Yeah, just because, and always the delightful, Danny DeVito at the end. The one I didn't like, even though it's similar to Arnold Schwarzenegger with his stunt casting. Look, I like Ben Affleck, but that one didn't really work for me. The Dunkin' Donuts one.
Yeah, with Matt Damon, local favorite Jack Harlow, and Beyonce or J-Lo, Jennifer Lawrence, Lopez.
They sort of poo-pooed it within the commercial itself. Damon did. Mm-hmm. It was kind of strange, and you got this whole setup, and they're poo-pooing it. And I get that you want to say this is goofy stuff, but it was strange to undercut your own commercial.
Well, I got to say the best one. I mean, guys, come on. What? Friend of the show, Daryl Isaacs. Come on. That was some good stuff. With his kids in there.
I didn't happen to catch that one. I didn't happen to catch that one. I did catch the RFK one.
That was wild. Kennedy. That one?
Yeah, they pulled out that old John Kennedy spot.
Yep.
And updated it.
That was wild. Agreed.
And all I understand about RFK, the junior one here, he's an anti-vaxxer. That's his claim to fame, as far as I know. So
he's got some different thoughts. Yeah, he does.
Yeah. So anyway, that was just bizarre. It was $7 million that they popped into that bad boy.
Yeah. It's an amazing thing. Okay, we'll keep talking about this. Got some other highlights, of course. Lugs, are you ready for the sports of yesteryear?
Of course.
Here we go. He's back from Super Bowl. Did you go? I think he went to Vegas. I mean, you and Elvis, you probably went to Vegas together, came back together, but he went to Michigan and died. But you're here now with sports of yesteryear.
Actually, I just got as far as Reno. Anyway.
Go ahead.
Here we go. 1908, New York to Paris auto race via Alaska and Siberia begins in New York City. George Schuster wins after, get this, 88 days behind the wheel. 88 days. 1932, Sonja Henie of Norway wins her second of 3 consecutive Olympic gold medals in women's figure skating at the Lake Placid Winter Games. 1958, Boston, Celtics, Bill Russell grabs 41, count them, 41 rebounds as the Celtics beat the Syracuse Nationals 119 to 101. 1989, 39th NBA All-Star Game. West beats East 143-134. MVP is Carl, the mailman, Malone, forward for Utah Jazz. And this is just one of those odd little ones. 1998, Dallas Cowboys signed Chan Gailey as their 4th head coach. Didn't last all that long.
I remember. Yes.
Didn't work all that well. So that's it for this edition of Sports of Yesteryear.
I think, thinking of Sonia Henning. Skater, right? Figure skater?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. That's just a great name. It just rolls off. You know, there's just some of those Olympic names that Jim McKay used to say, and you just go, that's the way it's supposed to be. Sonia Henning. You know, come on.
And she had a slight movie career. It was hard to keep, any drama up. I mean, she was going to skate. That was about it. So.
I mean, Nadia Comaneci and Ludmila Turishkeva and all those, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Jim just rolled those off the tongue.
I don't know. Some of those names are really fun though. That maybe don't roll off the tongue, but like Oksana Bayul,
Yes,
is a fun one. Or Christy Yamaguchi,
yes,
is just fun to say. So,
yeah. And there was that one French skater. Can't think of her name. All she did was skate really fast and then jump and then just skate really fast in a straight line and jump. And they always gave her bad marks, but she was very athletic. But they hated her. Can't think of her name. It'll come to me. That's sports and other stuff. Sports of yesteryear's little piece by Lugs. Okay, what else about the game? Anything else that I want to bring up one point. You said about Andy Reid. You're right, Lugs, you brought this up. When he was with the Eagles, T-Dog, how many times was Andy Reid the bridesmaid with Donovan McNabb as a QB, the old Syracuse quarterback? Great teams. Everybody said they're going. Always choked in the NFC Championship game or even the divisional round. I mean, that's true.
And even in the Super Bowl, where literally Don McNabb puked on their last drive to possibly win it. But by the way, a guy who should have gotten into the Hall of Fame sooner, I get why he's divisive because of his personality. Terrell Owens, if you all remember in that Super Bowl, he was coming off like a bad ankle injury where I forget how many weeks he came back. And, you know, Belichick's always noted for taking away your strength. And clearly he was the strength of that offense. He went for over like 115 yards receiving. I mean, he was dominant. The Eagles didn't lose because Terrell Owens didn't show up. I get why he's polarizing. But anyway, I don't mean to digress too much. But, like, no, Andy Reid showed consistently because McNabb was a good quarterback. And I even get some people saying some people champion to get in the Hall of Fame. I don't know if it'll happen. If he does, it'll be like the Steve Mongo McMichael route where he gets in, right. Unfortunately for him, like later in life,
sympathy.
If he does get it, but he was a good quarterback. But even outside of him, you look at like his quarterbacks. I mean, he flipped some quarterbacks in trades because he always was able to appreciate and like upgrade how the player played in his system. And Patrick Mahomes, like Belichick and Tom Brady, they are winning at this high level because it's a ideal symbiotic relationship where the talent of Patrick Mahomes is so vast. So you look at Andy Reid's system that already upgrades people playing. So you have a guy who has such a high ceiling and Patrick Mahomes in the system. He's playing at a Hall of Fame record, like you said, 6 years into his career. So it's a combination of the two that make this greatness happen. So. And, he's 66 years old. He said after game he's going to come back. And, again, with this quarterback playing at this level, and you have to think they're going to have – I don't know how they're going to have money because Lugs alluded to it. They have to try to re-sign Chris Jones definitely. I know they'd like to bring back Snead, who played amazing this year, but they're probably not going to be able to bring him back. But they'll probably have some money left around. They're going to get, like, I think – I'm not going to say a great, but at least a quality free agent wide receiver just because they need somebody to step up outside of Rashid Rice, who, as a rookie looks like he's going to be something for them. Or maybe they draft like a guy who starts hot like Rashid Rice again last year. So I think their offense is going to be better than it was this year where it had, problems scoring at the ridiculous rate that they've established. It was still one of the better offenses, but like, we all looked at it as like being poor just because they set the bar so high. So yeah, if you're Andy Reid, you definitely should come back.
Oh yeah. I mean, and Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator, he should not go anywhere. He's got that defense cooking. He's 64 and he did not do well as a head coach. Some guys are much better as coordinators. So I think Spags should stay right where he is. I mean, look at what happened to Bieniemy. You know, where is
Right.
he now? He's on the outside looking in again. And Matt Nagy, you talk about a guy who backed into just a Super Bowl ring.
Jackass.
You know? I mean, seriously.
Loser.
And the rich might get richer
Crappy
because
coach.
he interviewed for it came out just recently by Adam Schefter that Eric Bieniemy did interview with a few teams, but he didn't get any of the offensive coordinator vacancies. So there's a good chance that the Chiefs re-sign him in some capacity as an assistant head coach or an advisor or something. So they'll bring him back in the building. So that just helps them even more so.
So we've got about 10 minutes left in this new and improved shortened version of sports and other stuff. Okay, looking at next year. So you got to like the Lions are coming back with a full coaching staff. Obviously, the Chiefs are. There's going to be some continuity, and probably the Niners, so far as we know. There's going to be some, more of the same next year, perhaps, and who knows?
Oh, yeah. I mean, look at Green Bay, what they did. You've got teams that they're going to compete. And think about it if you're the Kansas City Chiefs now. I mean, the one thing people will want to do, it's a playoff game no matter when you play the Chiefs now, and they know it. So
the good thing for the Chiefs in the short term is, again, I think these two teams will get things turned around in the next few years, but still, you look at Denver. I mean, I don't think Russell Wilson's going to be on the team this year, so Jarrett Stidham will be starting, who played well for the Raiders 2 years ago and even had moments this year where he started it, where I think he's good, but again, I'm not saying he's going to win a lot of games shooting it out with Patrick Mahomes for the most part. But I think they'll turn around, but it's going to take a few years to get around of just how much money they have to eat because of this Russell Wilson situation. And similarly with the Chargers, I think Harbaugh will turn the Chargers around with Justin Herbert, but their cap space is so screwed up, at least next year, maybe the year after, that it's going to take a few years for them to, I think, overhaul that team to really be in the thick of it with the Chiefs year in, year out. So they have probably at least next year and maybe even the year after, 2-year window where they could still dominate, I think, the AFC West. And, I think Antonio Pierce did a good job, but still, big parts of their roster, particularly on offense, need to be massively overhauled. So they're not really, I think, going to be neck and neck with the Chiefs in the next few years. The NFC North that you brought up, it's going to be really hard for the Lions because if the Bears hit the draft with how good their defense has kind of shown into form at the tail end of last year, it sounds like Kirk Cousins will go back to the Vikings, and you look at what Brian Flores did with a lot of young guys, and they really rounded into form on defense on the back end with how well their offense, and I think O'Connell is as a head coach. And then, like you said, the Packers, we'll see if their new defensive coordinator can finally get all that talent on defense to play consistently year in, year out, because they have the talent on a defense that just never seem to live up to form. With that offense, they showed at the end of the year, they're going to be one of the tougher offenses. So I don't even know who's going to come out of the NFC North. As great as the Ravens are, and I don't think they're really going to go anywhere for a bit, Joe Burrow will be back next year. And, maybe I think, again, he was not, maybe kind of going back to the Spags thing. I know Arthur Smith wasn't the greatest head coach. He's going to be the offensive coordinator for the Steelers next year. And if they get, either through the draft or trade, it feels like a trade or free agency, a good quality starting quarterback with that defense, the Steelers are going to be a tough out. So it's going to be really fascinating next year, who really kind of emerges, who stays on top. And I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
and I think you have to throw the Texans in there as well. I mean, they had a major year. And the rumor mill, apparently, Tannehill will go to Pittsburgh.
This just in, Tannehill to Pittsburgh.
So that could be interesting. And part of the rumor mill was possibly Russell Wilson to Indianapolis.
No, why? They have Anthony Richardson. I don't know where that one came from. Anthony Richardson. Are they giving up on Anthony Richardson just after 1 year? He was drafted 3rd overall or 4th overall.
Well, Russell was drafted pretty high too. So
he was drafted in the 3rd round.
Was he?
Yeah.
And the other rumors, Julius Peppers is coming back to play for the Packers. We got a few minutes left. Okay, just overall, give me a letter grade on the Super Bowl and commercials, the production value, the team, the suspense. Did you watch? What do you think? What do you guys say?
I give it an A-. There were moments that I thought, Fox would do this better. I think Fox does it better than anybody. But CBS, they acquitted themselves well. They just had some moments that I thought, shut up. Mostly it was just Romo talking too much.
Jim. What do you think, T-Dog? What do you say? Letter grade.
No, I give it an A. All the major broadcasts that usually do the Super Bowls, the one thing I'll give them is always the production is at the highest, and it's understandable because they're never going to get more eyeballs in this game. They usually always, all across the board, they always execute. And kind of like what Lug said, I do think Romo talked too much. And even though of the major networks teams, they're the one I dislike the most. They're still quality. I don't hate Nance or Romo. They kind of bug me at times, but they still usually do a good job. So I thought they did it A.
All right, by the numbers, here's some stuff to leave on from CBS Sports. 165 cameras, 23 augmented reality cameras, 6 drones, and 19 television mobile trucks, guys, parked in the parking lot. That's like big-time stuff, and good job by CBS. Anything else today on the program here, sports and other stuff?
I'm good.
I gotta say, I know this is gonna pain J-Boy. Our old Mitch Trubisky, he is parting ways with the Steelers. He will be a free agent. So good luck, Mitch, and finding another job.
The Bears can snatch him up. Let's hope they do. This has been Sports and Other Stuff, brought to you in part by Farrell Mobile Homes. Yes, you can cross that money-saving bridge for big savings. They're on the right going in and on the left going out. You can go ask for our guy. His name is
Fish.
Yeah.
And break out your mop top. For those who aren't aware, that was the name given the Beatles' hairstyle. This week marks the 60th anniversary of the Fab Four's debut in America on The Ed Sullivan Show in 1964. 70 million folks watched and listened to Love Me Do and I Want to Hold Your Hand. Saturday at 1 p.m., Fish will dig deep into his vinyl archive and break out the turntables to host a day-long tribute to John, Paul, George, and Ringo. Admission is $20, and Fish guarantees to play every Beatle recording from I Saw Her Standing There to The Long and Winding Road. Come on down.
Join us again next time for a new episode of Sports and Other Stuff. Until then, so long for just a while. Bye-bye.